Hello, everybody. Born to be wild, really? Maybe more born to be mild, I think. So I'm Anne Lloyd, Head of Customer Experience at Axway, and there's really nothing that I enjoy more than being here with a room full of customers and partners and hearing directly from you about your real-world experiences. So I'm not going to welcome you all again. I think we've done that 3 times already. So maybe you could help me and join me in welcoming our panelists to the stage today. This is actually the first time they've been together since we got here. It's been a challenge corralling you. Okay, so please take a seat, and maybe we can start with some introductions.
Thank you, Anne. Very glad to be here. My name is Fernando. I work for Forces. Forces is an Axway partner, a service partner. It's a bit different than some of the US partners that you see in this event, more related to technology partnerships. And we're based in São Paulo, Brazil. We're about 600 people. We have 3 offices in São Paulo, so we like to be close to our clients. We also have a unit in an innovation center sponsored by one of our clients. And finally, in January, we opened our Miami office.
Thank you. Manoj.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Manoj Kona, and I work for National Oil Well Warco. We are based out of Houston, Texas. We serve the upstream oil and gas industry. We are mainly into oil and gas manufacturing. Our major business segments are rig solutions. Imagine if you look at an offshore oil rig, you know, everything from top to bottom, all the way through the pipe that goes to the bottom of the ocean, we manufacture it, including nuts, bolts, everything. We have our wellbore technologies, which takes care of drilling and tools, and we also have completion and production solutions. We are a multinational global company, about 33,000 employees. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Hello, I'm Kevin Williamson. I'm the Enterprise Services Architect for SiriusXM Satellite Radio. We have over 30 million subscribers through our systems, providing entertainment not only through satellite, but also through streaming, and we just added to our family Pandora just about a month ago.
Okay, great. So I think we have pretty good coverage in terms of industry expertise and so on. Obviously, entertainment on the left, and we have energy. And Fernando, I know that you have extensive experience in financial services and healthcare. So we're just missing retail, I think. It's a license to shop. Okay, so I'm not sure where you all are in your transformation journey, but what are you seeing across all of these sectors that are really driving the business to transform? So I don't know who wants to go first. Manoj?
I think the main reason why we are seeing transformation is, you know, we want to be the disruptor. We don't want to be disrupted. I think that's a primary goal, to be able to innovate. The pace of innovation has accelerated quite a bit over the last 10 to 12 years. Obviously, customer engagement is a big focus. And, you know, at the end of the day, you want to be able to bring newer revenue streams, digital streams faster to your company. And, you know, all of these factors are, driving transformation initiatives across organizations.
Does that resonate with you as well, Fernando? And what
For
you're
sure.
seeing?
I'm going to focus on financial services. Most of our clients are in the financial services sector. We actually we have the privilege to work with the 5 top banks in Brazil. So we know their pains, you know. Up until a couple of years ago, a lot of them were sort of anxious, you know, about new entrants, fintechs, and so on and so forth. Today, I would say they're actually scared. Why do I say this? You know, one fintech back home called Nubank, for instance. You know, they have already 5 million customers. You know, they have a digital account, beautiful customer experience. So what's a fintech these days, really? You know, if we think on a global scale of Alipay in China, they're already one of the top 10 financial services organization in the world, right? So all this to say that you know, things are moving very, very fast. We're together with our clients to really define this digital roadmap. So far, the digital roadmap has been really based on new digital interfaces or new services that provide more internal efficiency, or even just an experiment. You know, let's play with chatbots, for instance. But now I feel that the conversations are becoming much more serious. They're becoming really about, you know, how do I transform my business?
And are you seeing a blurring of the lines across industry sectors as well?
For sure. I think you mentioned retail. That's a good example. Some retailers back home are offering financial services. So not only that, some banks are looking at delivering new types of services covering the entire customer journey. You know, if a customer wants to buy a home or if he wants to buy a car, typically, he used to go to a website and you know, a specialized website. Today, you can do that, the entire customer journey within, you know, a specific bank or an insurance company or you know, a payment player.
And Kevin, what about in entertainment? What's happening there?
So at Sirius, our goal is to completely have our customers completely happy and looking for our entertainment to provide and delight them. So we're continuously looking at new ways to add programming and different ways to deliver that. So one of the opportunities we've had that we've delivered on over the last year is the ability to integrate streaming and satellite radio in your vehicle. So we have a bunch of OEMs that we're partnering with to do that. Brought a lot of challenges to be able to bring together those two technologies where each OEM has their own approach on how to actually do that. Working with these different companies and finding different ways to make these services available has been our primary driver and goal. And recently we just merged and acquired Pandora, which brings a whole new experience to our customers, and we're just like in the first few weeks of figuring out how to sort that out.
So customer experience, obviously, very close to my heart. Are you also seeing that as a key driver? You mentioned new entrants and trying to stay ahead of the competition. But what about in terms of customer experience? Is that something that is of real concern to your managers and business leaders?
Yes, it is a concern, and at the same time, it should be a concern for every organization. You know, I'll just take an example that you know all of us are familiar with, right? Let's just look at Amazon Prime. You know, it's not related to my industry, but it's something every one of us can relate to, right? So originally, it was ability to get your products shipped faster to your doorstep within 2 days, right? 2 days was their business mantra. And then, as they started engaging the customer, Amazon went into Amazon Music, Amazon Instant Video, you have Amazon Alexa devices, engaging the customer and making him focus and stay in your ecosystem, at the end of the day, making his experience better, making his life better on a day-to-day basis, keeps your customer engaged. And logged in might not be a right word to use, but stay in your ecosystem. And that's a challenge that we as business, techno-functional leaders have to constantly keep thinking to make sure customer is getting maximum value out of the service that we offer, whether it be subscription-based or product-based. I think that's a primary business driver.
So any other business challenges that
Yeah, regarding customer experience, I would like to share one project we're conducting right now with a major bank. It's an open banking initiative, okay? Just so we're in the same page, it goes beyond, just exposing APIs, creating a developer's portal. We're talking going beyond banking as a service toward banking as a platform, really. This client, he wants to bring in services from fintechs, and actually deliver that to end customers, right? He acknowledged that some services are not attractive enough, so he decided to bring fintechs to help them in this journey, right? And the challenge here is that there's two challenges, right? The technical part and the business part. Technical, I believe this is a wonderful opportunity to discuss HIP, right? We're talking here not only the internal spaghetti at the bank, but also handling fintechs. Some of them may have APIs, some of them may not. So, it's quite a complex environment. On the business side, it's also a tough decision, really. Why do I say this? Because this client realized he may have to cannibalize some of his revenues today, right? As we say, we know the plane is going to go up, but it might have to go down first so that it can go up. So, and this is the challenge about digital transformation, really, right? So when I said we're moving into some very serious discussion, I believe open banking is a very good example.
Okay, thanks. And Kevin, do you want to share some of your current projects and how you're using APIs to accelerate the transformation?
Sure. So a lot of, in improving our customers' experience is not only improving their actual listening experience, our players and our interfaces, but also their experience as customers and how we actually handle them as customers. So one of the projects that we've been engaging in over the last year is replacing a lot of our customer service tools, which we basically self-wrote back 10 years ago because nothing else existed, to use tools that are driven by AI, that are tools that are driven by robotics that can be integrated with our back-end subscription systems, which has driven a complete revolution on our side to completely API expose what used to be legacy applications for subscription management to a subscription platform now to be able to use a really high performance, high customer visibility and satisfaction platform using these APIs. That's been one of the things that we've really had to focus on over the last year. Other things in analytics that we bring in is the ability to use things like develop the notion of householding. So because our business was originally driven by the automotive business, every time you buy a new car, you basically get a new account. You're a new person, right, that's associated with the car. So as it goes through the dealer and the sales process, our radio's playing, you get a demo, and then you would go into a trial and eventually take the service. But what happens is as you go through a lifetime and you buy several different cars, you end up with a whole bunch of different accounts. So you get different separate bills, you're a different person to us each time. So the whole idea of using a lot of analytics to be able to bring that together and be able to say, oh, all these people, all these vehicles really belong to the same household. Well, first we'll give you a discount, which everybody likes. And then we'll also be able to manage you more as a person on a person-to-person basis, not just an account. So there's been a couple of the challenges we've had and things to improve our relationship at the account management piece. You listen every day, you probably go in to change your account once in a while, or if we give you an offer you can't refuse.
Cool. And go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, as far as customer experience, going beyond the financial services industry, we have a client that's a hospital, right? It's a world-class hospital. The name of this client is Albert Einstein. And today, the regulatory body in Brazil allows hospitals to do remote medical appointments, right? So instead of being present in front of your doctor, you can actually do this over, a mobile app or even a website. And so we're assisting with this client in this challenge, okay, which is not an easy one because we're talking here about, medical needs and medical appointment. The experience has to be flawless, right? We've already created a mobile app. We're still working on the website. But this is another example. Sometimes we think of digital transformation, financial services, retail, telecom, and so on and so forth. I believe the health sector, there's so much to do in that area.
And yeah, I mean, that's going to add enormous value for people in very remote areas and so on. But what about the problem of connectivity in some of those remoter regions?
The idea is not so much to take the service to like remote areas or the city outskirts and so much. It's still a premium service. It's still very much focused on, sort of the upper classes and all that. So at this point, we're not so much worried about connectivity, but as we move forward, yeah, that's going to become an issue.
I haven't given specific examples of innovation that's happening in our energy, oil and gas, or manufacturing sector. Some of the examples involve, for example, we have blowout preventers in offshore rigs that are critical to make sure that we cap the well before things leak if there are any issues. So we are working on creating software that is able to predict if maintenance is required on blowout preventers ahead. We are looking at innovation at each and every level, whether it be, let's say, for toxic. In the past, we used to sell a manufactured equipment just as the equipment itself, but these days we are working on selling subscription that allows customers to be able to remotely monitor their equipment, on a plethora of digital platforms, whether it be mobile devices or wearables or, a dumb screen terminal. But the goal is to be able to cater to diversified digital delivery channels and providing it in a channel that's conducive to the customer.
So I think I saw on somebody's slide this morning that security was the #1 challenge. How are you dealing with the challenges of security and compliance?
So we work very closely with a security and compliance team. I'm kind of like our security VP's best friend. She keeps trying to recruit me into her group, but I keep telling her I'm better off on the other side because I'm your best advocate. So security is very important to us. The model that we took, because we've been basically involved with DevOps. We've done automated builds and deploys for over 10 years. So that when we heard the version of DevOps, we kind of laughed, like says, wow, this is something we've been doing for a lot of years. So glad everybody else caught up with us. But it also is a driver for the way that we do other things. So when we adapted Axway's API Gateway, it was very much a craft type application. It was kind of like setting up your load balancer. You had to have the guy who knew how to program it, and it was a separate project for securing each endpoint. What we ended up doing was creating a model within the gateway that was declarative. So we were able to, as part of the actual build of the actual service, we were able to make the security treatment declarative. So it was just another document that was in the repository that says this service is going to be an external service, it's going to be a PCI service, it's going to be a SOAP service that's secured with WS Security binary token. So we can declare all that and take that burden off of, first of all, not have a team that actually has to virtualize each service, and also be able to make it part of the definition of completing that service delivery is that the security is there. So the delivery of the service is not done unless the security is there. So that's kind of the approach that we've taken, is we've kind of integrated it and made it like seamless to the application developers in the business that has to be done.
Security as I view security as a multifaceted challenge, similar to the way we describe integration as a multifaceted challenge. One of the ways we are looking at an interesting stat that I recently read was 51% of all the web traffic is generated by bots, not a human. Can you imagine? 51%, which is astounding. So what we are looking at is not just a traditional approach to identifying, detecting, and blocking security threats. Like in the past, let's say, for example, a developer would look at exposing an API to their cloud applications. They would look at traditional ways of securing the API, whether it be SQL injection threat checks or antivirus threat checks or XML or JSON threat checks. But we are looking at an AI ML-based security engine that basically looks at the behavior aspect of the API caller and then be able to detect and block those threats. So I think traditional security mechanisms that we have in place no longer they still hold value, but at the same time you have to look at the other facets of threats your organization is posing, and I think AI and ML has a big role to play in that area.
Well, one comment here. I fully agree with those views. One theme, we hear quite often in meetings is the concept of embedded banking. What is that? In our discussions, how do you see the financial services in 5 years? How do you see yourself in 10 years, and so on and so forth? A lot of our clients mention that in the future, end users are very likely to consume financial services in a very, very different manner. Okay. As a matter of fact, they may not realize they will be consuming financial services. It's all about, offering predictive services, advising customers, and so on and so forth. So why am I saying this? Because I think, again, it has everything to do with HIP, in the sense that it's not about integration inside the organization, but it's integration with machines, it's integration with autonomous cars, so on and so forth. And going back to security, I fully agree. Perhaps what we have today, it's related to a scenario that's our reality today. But as we move forward, we'll have to think of, digital identity, for instance. That's an area that will be quite important as we move forward as far as services.
So we were talking, or we heard this morning as well, that the technology alone is not enough, and it's as much about the people, the team, the culture, the evangelization, all of the supporting things around that. Have you met with any challenges in terms of evangelizing the use of APIs, for example, or changing the culture internally? Have you seen barriers in that area?
Of course, absolutely, of course. So
we
have a lot
this.
of legacy soap services. We'd love to just kill them off, but we have consumers that are doing that. That they're very comfortable with it. We're trying to move more into a REST environment. The whole notion in the development lifecycle of separating the design and the qualification of the design of the API, the whole API first notion versus let's just put it into a sprint and kill it, right? Just change some of those mindsets of be able to separate those two things. So some new tooling and changing people's attitudes that it's really important to be able to have a team work closely with the consumers to define the API, to understand it, to mock it, so they can actually try to execute against it. And then they'll come back and says, you know what? We told you exactly what we wanted, but we were wrong. We found out we really needed something different. And we'll go through a whole development cycle now where we built the whole API out, and then you're 2 weeks later and you find out now you got to spend another 2 weeks to get it right. So we really should have got it right in the first couple of days that we didn't have the right spec.
I agree with you, Kevin. In addition to what Kevin shared, there are newer pressures to be able to do a cloud smart, data smart strategy. But at the same time, you have to support your current business needs. You want to make sure, you are able to support the current requirements of your business. So, but at the same time, as Win said, things that are being thrown at you, whether it be microservices, mesh architectures, Kubernetes, containers, it's not stopping, and it's not going to stop. So I think ability to balance the strategic initiatives with tactical objectives, I think, developers, development teams, operations teams, they are smart, they want to be able to deliver continuously, integrate continuously, but at the same time, they are under the pressure to be able to maintain the status quo to make sure the operations are smooth. So I think, I think that getting a balance about, how you position your organization to meet your future needs, but at the same time meeting your current expectations, I think those are some of the challenges that we are facing. From a cultural standpoint, there is an acceptance that we need to be more agile, we need to be more lean. There is widespread acceptance. It's about how to get there, is where, I see some challenges.
So from what you saw and heard this morning, do you see opportunities from a HIP approach that could be beneficial to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How?
Sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, in the sense that, as Mark said it rightly, you're not going to get one single platform or one single tool that's a panacea to all your challenges. Obviously, when things are being thrown at you at a very rapid pace, you need to provide your organizations with, a diversified tool set in the form of hybrid integration platform to be able to do that. For example, some of the things that you would not see in a conventional legacy integration tool set, whether it be, providing 150 out-of-the-box connectors that Axway platform does, you do not see those in conventional legacy integration platforms. So you need to be able to augment capabilities for your distributed, diversified teams so that they are able to deliver faster and they're able to deliver with less. So I think I do agree with, most of the things that were said this morning, whether it be, hybrid integration strategy, or ability to make sure you can convert your on-premise apps to a cloud-native app to better be able to use the scale that cloud has to offer. So ability to get there faster requires, a methodical hybrid integration strategy. And some of them, as an organization, you'll have to make sure you separate some of the objectives. There are things that are, as I said, more tactical goals that you need to achieve to make sure your business runs smoothly. And there are those strategic goals to be able to position your organization in a leadership role.
For sure, there's so much HIP can add value in our daily lives. Today, I'm just going to focus on two aspects that I think are critical. First, personas. Okay, I just love the concept of ad hoc integrators. And why? It's a very practical reason. Developers are very hard to find, right? Today, in our company, most integration work is done by specialized integrators. So it would be great just to have, folks with technical skills, right? But that are not necessarily focused on integration all the time. They have other activities. And as their, schedule permits, they can also work with integration. That's great by itself. Citizen integrators, honestly, I don't know. I'm very eager to see what, the feedback from our clients in that sense. So that's regarding personas. Another aspect that's very, very important is timing, right? The project I just mentioned, the open banking project, Honestly, it's not realistic to expect, very, very large banks to have, all their APIs ready and well documented and all that. So we understand that HIP will play a very, very important role in speeding this process. Okay, we feel the pressure. Folks are not expecting 12-month projects anymore. They expected 4-month, 5-month projects. So, and then lastly, innovation, right? So being able to organize the internal environment, we understand that's critical to really innovate and launch new services with the right customer experience.
Kevin, any thoughts?
I agree with Fernando that the persona approach is really good. We have a lot of different teams that are doing integration. Being in the enterprise architect role, I always have people come to me, how do I get this to hook to that? How do we make this happen? I'll get a call from like the chief financial officer, say, hey, we want to integrate our e-business suite from Oracle with our invoice processor, Jaeger. How do we do that, right? So, having a platform that we kind of can direct everybody to, and then within their role be able to interact is really going to be very key.
Do you think that this is going to be a way to facilitate the transition from legacy to the newer, more innovative projects that you have?
Well, yeah, absolutely. We do see some vendors out there mentioning that, why don't you sort of throw away what you have today, and here's a beautiful, platform that will solve all your problems and all that. And frankly, this is just not realistic. Of course, you have to think of modernizing your legacy system. So I think the presentations today touched on that from various perspectives. And in my mind, this is the way to go. You have to modernize it, but at the same time, the customer needs to feel comfortable about how to do that.
That's an excellent point, Fernando. Obviously, we have been developing applications for a while, and some of those applications, we have put in almost 15 to 20 years worth of effort into those applications. We are not going to rip them apart and redo things. We want to be able to leverage existing investment and deliver that investment, for newer digital delivery channels. So ability to do that, an application modernization, aspect, quicker, is essential. And another thing I would always try to go back and look at is, one of the principles of Agile Manifesto is, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. So I think, some of the things that Vince, Mark, and others have discussed is, ability to provide reusability more naturally, so that, and ability to get your development teams concentrate on their business needs as opposed to worrying about, the security aspects. How do I go about delivering this aspect? So making your teams be able to concentrate on the business needs of current as well as future, I think that's absolutely important. And I think, some of what was discussed earlier, is going to help teams.
Yeah, from an architecture perspective, having a framework you can point people to and say, here's the framework. Yeah, it supports our existing stuff, but it also supports our new direction, and kind of having that roadmap from here to there usually gives people the confidence and makes them comfortable with the fact that we're changing stuff and they're not losing what they have, but we're just actually augmenting it and making it better.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, we're right on time, so thank you very much for this wonderful conversation, and good luck on your transformation journey.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.